Mata Hari is often remembered as one of the most controversial and possibly one of the most unsuccessful spies in modern history. Born as Margaretha Geertruida on August 7, 1876, in Leeuwarden in the Netherlands, she grew up in a relatively comfortable middle-class family. Her father was a successful hat merchant who loved to spoil his daughter and present the family as wealthy. For a time, the young Margaretha enjoyed a privileged childhood, attending good schools and living a life that seemed destined for stability. However, this comfortable life collapsed when her father went bankrupt and her parents separated. Soon after, her mother died when Margaretha was only 15 years old. These early hardships forced her to confront a world that was far harsher than the one she had known as a child. As a teenager, she struggled to find stability and direction. Eventually, she answered a newspaper advertisement placed by a Dutch colonial officer named Captain Rudolf MacLeod, who was looking for a wife. In 1895, at the age of 18, she married him and moved to the Dutch East Indies, which is now Indonesia. The marriage quickly became unhappy. MacLeod was older, frequently drank alcohol, and often treated her badly. The couple had 2 children, but tragedy struck when their young son died, possibly from poisoning, though historians still debate the exact cause. Their relationship deteriorated further, and they eventually returned to Europe and separated. By 1906, the marriage had officially ended, leaving Margaretha alone and searching for a way to survive financially. With limited opportunities available to women at the time, she decided to reinvent herself. She moved to Paris and created a new identity under the name Mata Hari, which she claimed meant Eye of the Day or Sun in Malay. Presenting herself as an exotic dancer from the East, she performed sensual dances inspired by what she described as sacred temple rituals. European audiences were fascinated by anything they considered mysterious or oriental, and Mata Hari quickly gained fame. Her performances often involved elaborate costumes that she slowly removed during the dance, something that shocked conservative society but also attracted enormous attention. Soon, she was performing in major cities across Europe and becoming a celebrity. Her beauty, charm, and carefully crafted persona allowed her to enter the highest social circles. She developed relationships with wealthy businessmen, aristocrats, and especially military officers. This access to powerful men later became a crucial factor in the story that would turn her into one of history's most infamous alleged spies. When the First World War began in 1914, Europe became a continent of suspicion, fear, and espionage. Governments were desperate for information about enemy plans, troop movements, and military technology. Because Mata Hari traveled frequently between countries and maintained relationships with officers from several nations, intelligence agencies saw her as someone who could potentially gather useful information. According to historical records, German intelligence first approached her and gave her money, along with a code name, H-21. However, many historians believe that she never actually delivered valuable intelligence to Germany. Instead, she may have accepted the money simply to maintain her luxurious lifestyle. Later, the French intelligence service also contacted her. A French officer suggested that she could work for France by using her relationships with German officers to obtain secrets. Mata Hari agreed, possibly believing that she could play both sides while benefiting financially. This decision would ultimately prove disastrous. The world of espionage was far more dangerous than the glamorous life she had known as a performer. Professional spies were trained to remain invisible and cautious. But Mata Hari was famous and constantly in the public eye. Her lifestyle made secrecy nearly impossible. She traveled across borders during wartime, met with numerous military figures, and handled money from different sources. These activities quickly attracted suspicion from counterintelligence officers. At one point, German intelligence deliberately transmitted messages about Agent H21, using a code that they knew French intelligence had already broken. When French cryptographers intercepted the messages, they easily identified the reference to Mata Hari. Whether the Germans intentionally sacrificed her to mislead the French or simply considered her unimportant remains a subject of debate among historians. In February 1917, French authorities arrested Mata Hari in Paris and accused her of spying for Germany. The charges were extremely serious because France had suffered enormous losses during the war, and the government was determined to punish anyone suspected of betrayal. During her interrogation, Mata Hari admitted that she had accepted money from German officials, but she insisted that she had never provided them with meaningful information. She argued that the money had been compensation for personal belongings confiscated by German authorities earlier in the war. Despite her claims, the investigators remained convinced that she had caused the deaths of thousands of French soldiers by passing secrets to the enemy. Her trial took place behind closed doors and lasted only a short time. The evidence presented against her was largely circumstantial, and many documents were kept secret for national security reasons. Mata Hari had very little opportunity to defend herself effectively. In the tense atmosphere of wartime France, public opinion was harsh and unforgiving. She was portrayed as a dangerous femme fatale who used seduction to manipulate powerful men and betray entire nations. On July 25, 1917, the court found her guilty of espionage. The sentence was death by firing squad. On October 15, 1917, Mata Hari was executed at the age of 41. According to several witnesses, she faced the firing squad with remarkable composure. She reportedly refused a blindfold and looked directly at the soldiers before the shots were fired. Her dramatic death quickly transformed her into a legend. Newspapers around the world reported the story of the beautiful dancer who had become a spy and paid with her life. Over time, however, historians began to question the official narrative. Newly released intelligence documents and historical research suggest that Mata Hari probably had little access to important military secrets. Many experts now believe that she was not a highly effective spy at all. In fact, she may have been largely insignificant in the world of espionage. Some scholars argue that French authorities needed a scapegoat to demonstrate that they were successfully fighting enemy spies, especially during a difficult period of the war when morale was low. Mata Hari's glamorous reputation, foreign background, and unconventional lifestyle made her an easy target. Whether she was truly guilty or simply a victim of wartime paranoia remains one of the great debates in intelligence history. Regardless of the truth, her story illustrates how espionage during wartime could be influenced by politics, fear, and public perception as much as by actual evidence. Today, Mata Hari remains one of the most famous figures associated with espionage. Her life has inspired countless books, films, and documentaries. She is often portrayed either as a dangerous seductress who manipulated men and governments, or as a tragic woman who was misunderstood and sacrificed by a desperate